In the heart of Islamic tradition lies an event so profound and extraordinary that it continues to inspire awe and devotion among Muslims around the world. This event, known as al-Isra and Mi'raj, recounts the miraculous night journey and ascension of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Taking place approximately a year or so before the Hijrah, on the 27th night of the sacred month of Rajab. This divine experience is not only remembered as a supernatural occurrence, but also as a deeply spiritual moment that reinforced the faith of believers and strengthened the very foundation of Islam. The journey itself is divided into two distinct phases: the Isra, which was the night journey from Mecca to Jerusalem, and the Mi'raj, the ascension through the seven heavens to meet Allah himself. Together, these journeys form one of the most remarkable and spiritually significant episodes in the life of the Prophet Muhammad, serving as a lasting symbol of faith, divine connection, and the ultimate promise of reward for those who believe. At a time when the Prophet Muhammad faced immense hardship, sorrow, and rejection from his own people, the miraculous journey of Isra and Mi'raj came as both a divine comfort and a reaffirmation of his sacred mission. The years leading up to this event were filled with painful trials. The Prophet had lost his beloved wife Khadijah, his most loyal supporter, and his uncle Abu Talib, his greatest protector. The people of Mecca, stubborn in their disbelief, mocked and opposed his message with increasing hostility. Just when the weight of grief and struggle seemed almost unbearable, Allah, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, granted the Prophet this extraordinary journey, lifting him beyond the physical confines of this world and allowing him to witness the unseen realms of the heavens and the ultimate realities of the afterlife. Through this event, Allah not only strengthened the heart of his beloved messenger, but also gifted the entire Muslim Ummah with one of the most important acts of worship, the 5 daily prayers. The significance of Isra and Mi'raj stretches far beyond its miraculous details. It is a story that embodies the power of faith during the darkest of times. It demonstrates how divine wisdom is always at work, even when human understanding falls short. This journey served as a reminder that hardship is temporary, but the rewards of patience, devotion, and trust in Allah are eternal. To this day, the story of what Prophet Muhammad saw during his ascension to the 7 heavens stands as an enduring source of inspiration, drawing Muslims closer to their Creator and reminding them of the ultimate purpose of their existence. On a night unlike any other, as the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, rested near the sacred Kaaba, or, as some narrations suggest, in the home of his cousin Hani, an extraordinary event began that would forever be etched into the heart of Islamic belief. Without warning, the angel Jibril appeared before him, tasked with preparing the Prophet for a journey beyond the limits of human imagination. In a miraculous act, Jibril opened the chest of the Prophet, washed his heart with the pure, blessed water of Zamzam, and filled it with faith and wisdom. This was no ordinary preparation, for what awaited the Prophet was a divine journey that would carry him through the earth and beyond the heavens themselves. His heart needed to be strengthened, his spirit fortified, and his very being prepared to receive what no other human had ever been granted. This purification was the first step toward an experience that would forever change not only him, but the destiny of his entire nation. After this sacred preparation, the Prophet was introduced to a magnificent celestial creature named al-Buraq. Neither horse nor donkey, but a creature of divine origin, al-Buraq was radiant, white, and remarkably swift, capable of covering unimaginable distances with a single stride. The Prophet mounted this blessed steed, and with the guidance of Jibril, he was transported from the sacred mosque in Mecca to the farthest mosque in Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa, in the blink of an eye. This miraculous journey, known as the Isra, is directly mentioned in the Quran, in Surah Al-Isra, where Allah declares the glory of the one who took his servant by night from the sacred mosque to the farthest mosque, whose surroundings were blessed. This was not merely a physical journey, it was a deeply symbolic passage connecting two of the holiest sites in Islam, and uniting the messages of all prophets in perfect harmony. Upon his arrival at Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Prophet Muhammad encountered a gathering unlike any the world had ever seen. There stood the noble prophets who had come before him: Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and many others, all assembled by divine command. In an act of profound symbolism, the Prophet Muhammad was asked to lead them all in prayer. This moment was far more than ceremonial. It was a declaration of his role as the final messenger, the seal of the prophets, and the one chosen to complete the divine message that had been carried through the ages. By leading the prayer, he was not only honoring the unity of the prophetic mission, but also demonstrating that the revelation of Islam was the culmination of a divine legacy. This gathering at Al-Aqsa, under the sacred night sky, marked the perfect harmony of faiths and the seamless continuation of Allah's message to humanity, all standing together before the one Creator. This was the Isra, the miraculous night journey, and it was only the beginning. As the night continued to unfold in ways beyond comprehension, the journey of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, did not end in Jerusalem. After leading the prophets in prayer at Al-Aqsa Mosque, the next phase of this divine journey was about to begin, an ascension to the heavens themselves. Accompanied by the angel Jibril, the prophet was carried from the earthly realm into the celestial spheres in an experience so unique and miraculous that no human before or after him has been granted anything like it. This part of the journey is known as the Mi'raj, the Ascension, where the messenger of Allah would rise through the layers of the heavens, meeting prophets, angels, and ultimately reaching a station of nearness to Allah that defies the limits of the human mind. The ascent began as the Prophet and Jibril approached the gates of the first heaven. There, an angelic guardian stood watch, tasked with protecting the realms beyond from anything unworthy of entering. Jibril called out, seeking permission to enter with the honored guest beside him. The gatekeeper inquired who was with him, and upon hearing that it was Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, the gates were opened in celebration of his arrival. The Prophet was welcomed with greetings of peace and honor, marking the start of his journey through the unseen worlds. With every step higher, the realms of existence became more extraordinary, each filled with light, beauty, and divine order. Yet, beyond the wonder of these places, the Prophet's encounters with those who had come before him held the deepest meaning. In the first heaven, the Prophet met Adam, the father of all humanity. Adam greeted Muhammad with warmth and joy, acknowledging him as his righteous son and affirming the significance of his prophetic mission. This meeting was not only a personal moment between two great figures, but also a symbol of the beginning of humanity's journey and its completion through the final messenger. Beyond Adam's station, they continued upward, ascending into the second heaven. There, the Prophet met two more remarkable prophets, Isa, Jesus, and Yahya, John the Baptist. Both welcomed him sincerely, expressing their respect and recognizing the honor of his presence. The meeting of these noble prophets was a reminder of the shared purpose of all divine messengers and the continuous thread of guidance that runs through history, binding their missions together in perfect unity. Their journey carried on into the third heaven, where the Prophet encountered Yusuf, Joseph, whose beauty and wisdom were unparalleled. Yusuf's welcoming words and gracious demeanor were yet another affirmation of the bonds between the chosen messengers of Allah, each playing their role in the greater divine plan. In the fourth heaven, they met Idris, a prophet known for his extraordinary knowledge and devotion, who too greeted Muhammad with reverence. Every heaven brought new encounters, new insights, and greater spiritual elevation. The fifth heaven introduced the prophet to Harun, Aaron, the brother of Musa, Moses, known for his leadership and gentleness. Then, upon reaching the sixth heaven, the prophet met Musa himself. This meeting was especially emotional as Musa wept upon realizing that the nation of Muhammad would surpass his own in number. His tears were not of envy, but of longing, understanding the immense responsibility and favor granted to this final ummah. Finally, in the seventh heaven, the Prophet met Abraham, leaning against al-Bayt al-Ma'mur, the heavenly counterpart of the Kaaba, where 70,000 angels enter daily, never to return. Ibrahim welcomed the Prophet with affection, reminding him of the deep spiritual heritage that connected them through the worship of one true God. Each level of heaven was more radiant and breathtaking than the one before, each filled with beings of light and purity. And yet the journey was far from over. These meetings were not mere introductions. They were divine affirmations that the mission of the Prophet Muhammad was the completion of all that had come before. The harmony, the continuity, and the brotherhood of these encounters underscored the timeless truth that there has only ever been one message from Allah: to worship Him alone, live righteously, and prepare for the everlasting life to come. And with every ascent, the Prophet drew closer to the ultimate presence, to the place where even the greatest of angels could go no further, leaving him to stand alone before the Creator of all. As the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, ascended through the heavens during the miraculous night of Mi'raj, he was met with scenes of divine beauty, light, and serenity beyond human description. Yet perhaps the most profound aspect of his celestial journey was his encounters with the noble prophets who had come before him. In each of the seven heavens, the Prophet was welcomed by those who had carried Allah's message in their own times, each one greeting him with honor, respect, and acknowledgement of his supreme role as the final messenger. These meetings were far more than simple introductions. They were divine moments that confirmed the unity of the prophetic mission and served as a reminder of the continuous thread of guidance that Allah has extended to humanity from the beginning of time. With Jibril by his side, the Prophet ascended through realms of unimaginable beauty, stopping at each heaven's gate where permission was sought and granted, and where a new meeting awaited him. In the first heaven, the Prophet met Adam, the father of all mankind. Imagine the magnitude of such a moment. Adam, the very first human, welcoming Muhammad, who was destined to bring the final revelation. Adam greeted him warmly and called him a righteous son, acknowledging his honored position. Around Adam were the souls of the blessed on his right and the souls of the damned on his left, showing the Prophet a glimpse of the fate that awaits every soul based on their deeds. This encounter was not only deeply symbolic of humanity's beginning and end, but also a reminder that the journey of guidance began with Adam and was to be perfected through Muhammad. Upon ascending to the second heaven, the Prophet met two figures of incredible purity and sacrifice: Isa, Jesus, and Yahya, John the Baptist. Their warmth and hospitality reflected their shared devotion to truth and righteousness. Both prophets, who had endured trials and rejection in their missions, greeted Muhammad with peace and blessings, recognizing the honor of his visit. Their presence side by side reminded him of the patience and perseverance required in the path of delivering Allah's message, no matter the opposition faced along the way. In the third heaven, the Prophet was welcomed by Yusuf, known not only for his extraordinary beauty, but also for his wisdom and trust in Allah, despite the deep betrayals and hardships he endured. When Yusuf greeted the Prophet, his radiance was described as filling the entire heaven, and yet his humility was profound. This meeting was a subtle reminder that beauty, both external and internal, is a blessing from Allah, and with it comes a responsibility to embody virtue, patience, and forgiveness. As the Prophet continued his ascent into the fourth heaven, he met Idris, a prophet known for his deep knowledge and devotion. Idris was elevated to a high station by Allah, and his encounter with Muhammad served as an acknowledgement of the importance of seeking knowledge, living with wisdom, and dedicating one's life to sincere worship and good deeds. Idris, who had been taken up to the heavens during his own time, offered a warm welcome, showing that the pursuit of divine truth knows no bounds, not even those of the earthly realm. In the fifth heaven, the Prophet met Harun, the brother of Musa. Known for his gentleness and eloquence, Harun greeted Muhammad with joy. His welcoming words reflected his kind and soft nature, and his presence was a reminder that leadership must be rooted in compassion and understanding, particularly when guiding a community through the challenges of faith. The sixth heaven brought a deeply emotional encounter with Musa. Upon meeting the prophet, Musa welcomed him, but also wept. When asked why he was crying, Musa explained that he was saddened because the followers of Muhammad would outnumber his own. This was not a cry of envy, but of longing, recognizing the greatness of the mission that Muhammad carried and the immense favor bestowed upon his nation. Musa, who had led his people through immense hardship and struggle, understood better than most the weight of such responsibility. Finally, in the seventh heaven, the prophet met Ibrahim, the father of the prophets. Ibrahim was seen leaning against al-Bayt al-Ma'mur, the heavenly equivalent of the Kaaba, around which 70,000 angels circle each day, never to return. Ibrahim greeted Muhammad as a beloved son and offered words of peace. He advised the prophet to convey to his people the importance of maintaining purity in worship and sincerity in faith. This meeting was the completion of the prophetic chain, a full circle that began with Adam and now found its fulfillment in Muhammad, the seal of the prophets. These meetings with the prophets in the seven heavens were far more than ceremonial greetings. They were divine affirmations that Muhammad's message was the completion of every revelation that had come before. The harmony and brotherhood shared between these noble figures served as an eternal symbol of the oneness of Allah's message, passed through generations of prophets and sealed with the final messenger, who now stood on the brink of the highest realms of existence. With each encounter, the prophet's heart grew stronger, his mission clearer, and his spirit ever more prepared for what lay beyond, a meeting with his Lord that no other human had ever experienced. Beyond the seventh heaven, where even the most extraordinary of prophets had welcomed him with honor and affection, the journey of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, continued to ascend into realms of unimaginable wonder. Accompanied by the angel Jibril, he approached a place known as Sidrat al-Muntaha, the lote tree of the utmost boundary. This was no ordinary tree, nor was it a mere symbol from the earthly world. Sidrat al-Muntaha stood at the very edge of creation itself, marking the final point beyond which no creation, whether angel, prophet, or any other being, could pass. Its presence was radiant and overwhelming, a tree so magnificent that the human mind cannot truly grasp its beauty. Its leaves were vast like the ears of elephants, and its fruits resembled enormous vessels, glimmering and shining with colors beyond anything of this world. Here, the realms of the finite ended, and beyond lay only the presence of Allah, veiled from all but the chosen. It was at this sacred boundary that the angel Jibril came to a halt. The one who had been by the prophet's side from the very beginning of the journey, guiding him, protecting him, and preparing him for this divine encounter, now admitted that he could go no further. With humility and reverence, Jibril explained that beyond Sidrat al-Muntaha was a domain reserved only for the prophet. If Jibril himself were to attempt to cross that sacred boundary, he would be consumed by the overwhelming divine light. It was at this moment that the Prophet Muhammad stood alone, chosen by Allah to venture beyond where no other had ever been permitted. His heart, already filled with faith, wisdom, and certainty, was now prepared to enter the presence of his Lord. The very air around Sidrat al-Muntaha was filled with splendor and tranquility. The divine lights that illuminated the tree were beyond human comprehension, constantly shifting and shimmering in ways words could never fully capture. It was here that the prophet witnessed marvels of the unseen, where rivers of pure water, milk, honey, and wine flowed in abundance, and where the angels gathered in ceaseless worship, glorifying their Creator. Yet, the most profound moment was not the beauty of the surroundings, but the realization that from this point on, the Prophet Muhammad would ascend alone, without any guide, into the divine presence. Sidrat al-Muntaha was the dividing line between creation and the Creator, and the fact that the Prophet was invited to cross it was the greatest honor ever bestowed upon any human being. This moment was the pinnacle of nearness, the meeting place between servant and Lord, where all of creation paused in reverence as Muhammad advanced into the light. As the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, continued his miraculous journey beyond the realms of the created universe, he was granted visions that few could ever imagine. Among these divine sights were the realities of both paradise and hell, two eternal destinations that lay ahead for all of humanity. Revealed to him with such clarity and vividness that the lessons of what he saw would echo through his message until the end of time. These were not distant concepts or abstract ideas. They were real, tangible realms filled with rewards and punishments, and the Prophet was chosen to witness them so he might return and warn, guide, and give hope to his people. In his vision of paradise, the Prophet saw a realm of indescribable beauty and peace. Flowing rivers of pure water, milk, honey, and wine glistened under skies so serene that they seemed untouched by the passage of time. The air was filled with fragrances so sweet and delicate that no earthly scent could compare. The gardens stretched endlessly, lush and green, with trees whose branches bowed under the weight of fruits more perfect than anything the human senses have ever encountered. The sounds of paradise were gentle and harmonious, with angels singing praises to Allah and the righteous rejoicing in eternal peace. Mansions of gold and silver, adorned with pearls and precious stones, stood waiting for those who believed, who prayed, who lived with sincerity, and who followed the straight path. The Prophet saw the joy of those who had earned Allah's pleasure, their faces radiant, their hearts at rest, free from pain, grief, or fear. It was a realm where the souls of the faithful would dwell forever, rewarded beyond measure for even the smallest acts of goodness they had done on earth. This vision of paradise was not just shown to him as a sign of hope, but as a reminder for all people to strive for such a reward, to remember that this life is fleeting and the next is everlasting. But as magnificent as paradise was, the Prophet was also shown the terrifying reality of hell. In stark contrast to the peace and beauty of paradise, hell was a place of darkness, agony, and despair. He saw the punishments that awaited those who denied the truth, who spread corruption, and who turned away from Allah's guidance. He witnessed people enduring unbearable torments, flames rising high above them, their screams echoing across the abyss. Chains, hooks, and molten substances were part of the horrific scene, and each punishment fit the nature of the sins committed. He saw the arrogant brought low, the oppressors crushed by their own cruelty, and the liars and deceivers suffering the consequences of their actions. The terror of hell was complete and unending, a warning that the choices made in this brief life have unimaginable consequences. These visions of paradise and hell were not shown to the Prophet for his sake alone, but as a mercy to the entire Ummah. Through him, humanity was given a glimpse of the unseen, a chance to reflect, to repent, and to prepare. The Prophet returned from this journey with a renewed sense of urgency, determined to remind his people of these realities, urging them to seek forgiveness, to live righteously, and to remember that after this world lies another, one where the promises of Allah are fulfilled in absolute justice and mercy. At the peak of his miraculous journey, after passing beyond the boundaries where even the mightiest of angels like Jibril could not follow, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, stood alone in the presence of his Lord. There, in the realm beyond all creation, beyond time, beyond space, he experienced the most sacred and intimate encounter a human being has ever been granted. No words can fully describe the magnitude of that moment, for it was a meeting not of bodies or voices, but of soul and divine reality. The Prophet was brought into nearness with Allah, a nearness that defies human understanding, where veils were lifted and divine truths were unveiled in ways that no other prophet or angel had ever witnessed. It was here that the heart of the messenger received knowledge and wisdom directly from the source of all knowledge. And it was during this sacred moment that Allah bestowed upon him, and through him upon the entire Muslim community, one of the greatest gifts in the history of humanity, the command of the 5 daily prayers. Initially, the obligation given to the prophet was not 5 prayers but 50. This instruction reflected the immense value and power of worship, the opportunity to stand before the Creator repeatedly throughout the day and night, strengthening the bond between the servant and the Lord. As the prophet descended through the heavens, he met with Musa, who inquired about what Allah had commanded. When Musa learned of the 50 daily prayers, he urged the prophet to return and request a reduction, explaining that the people would struggle to fulfill such a heavy obligation. Trusting the wisdom of his brother Musa, the prophet returned to Allah, humbly asking for mercy for his community. With each request, Allah reduced the number of prayers until they were set at 5, while the reward remained as if 50 had been performed. This showed not only the mercy of Allah, but also his deep love and compassion for his creation, making worship manageable while still granting immense reward. During this encounter, Allah also revealed the concluding verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, verses of profound beauty and meaning. These verses emphasize the core of faith, belief in Allah, His angels, His books and His messengers, and contain a heartfelt supplication asking for forgiveness, mercy, and ease. They are recited by Muslims to this day, treasured for their spiritual depth and divine reassurance. In this sacred meeting, the principles of pure monotheism, mercy, and hope were all affirmed, and through the Prophet, they were delivered to the hearts of those who would follow him. This divine encounter was the summit of the Prophet's journey, the moment where he fulfilled a role no other had ever been given. He returned from it, carrying not only commands and revelations, but also a renewed spirit and an unshakable certainty, knowing that Allah's mercy envelops His servants, that prayer is the key to nearness, and that faith is the path to eternal success. Through this extraordinary meeting, humanity was gifted a direct connection to the divine, one that would remain open through the daily prayers, serving as a constant bridge between the Creator and His creation until the end of time. After witnessing the wonders of the heavens, the beauty of paradise, the horrors of hell, and standing in the sacred presence of Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, began his return to the earthly realm. Descending through the same celestial layers he had ascended, he once again passed by the prophets who had welcomed him on his journey. Each of them greeted him warmly, knowing that he was now returning with a message and a mission greater than any before. From the highest heavens back to the earthly mosque of Al-Aqsa in Jerusalem, the transition from the infinite back to the finite world began. There, where his miraculous ascension had started, the Prophet remounted the celestial creature Al-Buraq, and in an instant, he was transported back to Mecca, all within the span of a single night. As dawn approached, the city of Mecca lay quiet and unaware of the extraordinary journey that had just taken place. But the Prophet knew that by morning, the truth of what he had witnessed must be shared. When he told the Quraish of his journey, their response was as cruel as it was predictable. They laughed, mocked, and ridiculed him. To them, the very idea that a man could travel from Mecca to Jerusalem and then ascend through the heavens and return all in one night was nothing but a fabrication, an impossible tale. They used this story to intensify their attacks against him, hoping to weaken the resolve of his followers and cast doubt on his mission. For many, this was indeed a test of faith. To believe in such a miracle required complete trust in the truthfulness of the Prophet. Yet amidst the voices of disbelief, there were those whose faith only grew stronger. The Prophet's closest companion, Abu Bakr, without hesitation, declared that if Muhammad said it, then it was unquestionably true. His unwavering support in that moment of doubt earned him the honored title of As-Siddiq, the Truthful. While the disbelievers mocked, the believers found in this miracle a renewed certainty, a reminder that with Allah, nothing is impossible, and that the unseen is as real as the ground beneath their feet. When the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, shared the details of his miraculous night journey with the people of Mecca, their reaction was swift and scornful. The leaders of the Quraish, who already rejected his message, seized the moment to intensify their ridicule. To them, the story was absurd beyond belief. They spread his words throughout the city, mocking the idea that a man could travel from Mecca to Jerusalem and ascend through the heavens and return within a single night. Their goal was clear. They wanted to use this extraordinary claim to undermine the prophet's credibility, shaking the faith of his followers and casting doubt upon his mission. For those whose belief was still fragile, the pressure was overwhelming. The laughter and mockery of the disbelievers filled the streets, and whispers of doubt crept into the hearts of some who had once been convinced. It was a moment of great testing, not just for the prophet, but for the entire Muslim community. In the midst of this growing storm, one voice stood firm and unwavering. When Abu Bakr, the prophet's closest companion, was told of the journey, his response was immediate and resolute. Without hesitation, he declared that if the Prophet Muhammad said it, then it must be true. To Abu Bakr, belief in the unseen was not difficult when it came from the one he knew to be the most honest and trustworthy of men. His absolute trust in the words of the Prophet earned him the title of As-Siddiq, the truthful. His public declaration of faith strengthened the hearts of the believers and silenced many of the doubters. In that moment, Abu Bakr's certainty became a beacon of light for the struggling Muslim community, proving that true faith is not swayed by the ridicule of others. His example reminded everyone that belief is not limited by what seems possible to the human mind, but is grounded in the truth of divine revelation. Through his support, the Muslims found renewed confidence, and the Prophet's message continued to spread, untouched by the disbelief that surrounded them. The journey of Isra and Mi'raj left an everlasting mark on the heart of Islam, shaping not only the faith of the early Muslim community, but also the daily lives of believers for all generations to come. What took place on that miraculous night was not simply a personal honor for the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, but a gift for all of humanity, a profound reminder of Allah's closeness, His mercy, and the incredible realities that exist beyond the limits of this world. This event became a source of strength and reassurance, proving that in the face of hardship, rejection, and grief, divine wisdom is always present and relief is always near. At a time when the Prophet had endured great sorrow and opposition, this journey reminded him, and by extension, his followers, that his mission was supported and guided by the Lord of all creation, and that beyond every trial lies a greater reward. One of the most lasting legacies of Isra and Mi'raj is the establishment of the 5 daily prayers. On that sacred night, Allah gifted the Muslim community a direct and intimate connection to Him, inviting them to pause from their busy lives and stand before their Creator throughout the day and night. These prayers became not just acts of worship, but moments of peace, reflection, and renewal, anchoring the hearts of believers in their faith and constantly reminding them of their purpose. Through prayer, the essence of Mi'raj continues to live on, as each Muslim is given their own moment of spiritual ascent, turning away from the distractions of the world and toward the presence of Allah. The story of Isra and Mi'raj continues to inspire reflection, humility, and hope. It reminds every believer that no matter the burdens they carry or the struggles they face, Allah's plan is always unfolding, often in ways beyond human understanding. It calls them to believe in the unseen, to trust in the promises of the hereafter, and to live a life of purpose, knowing that just as the Prophet was honored with that incredible journey, every sincere heart is on its own path toward the ultimate meeting with its Lord. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the story of Isra and Mi'raj. We hope this reminder of faith, patience, and divine mercy has inspired your heart and strengthened your connection with Allah. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Islamic Insights for more stories that deepen your understanding and bring the beauty of Islam to life. Until next time, may peace and blessings be upon you, and may Allah continue to guide and protect you always.